Hey, this is Mr. Jakes from Basement Brothers, this time with a review of a brand new game just released in July 2026 in Japan. As I mentioned way back in my Xanadu Scenario 2 video, Kyoto Xanadu was originally supposed to come out in 2025 in order to keep up Falcom's tradition of releasing a new Xanadu game on every 10th year anniversary of the original. But unfortunately, they were too busy releasing other games in 2025 and ended up ruining their record. Still, better late than never, I guess. I'll be playing the PS5 version, but the game is also available in Japan for Switch 1 and 2 and Steam. There's been no announcement yet as far as I know regarding any worldwide release. First of all, I should clear up that you really don't need to have played any of the previous Xanadu games to enjoy Kyoto Xanadu. The game has nothing to do with the early Xanadu games, and even Tokyo Xanadu, which takes place in the same world, is rarely even referenced at all in Kyoto Xanadu. I was expecting at least some cameos from the Tokyo Xanadu characters, but you don't even get that. There's only a rare mention of some of the mysterious global organizations from that game, and that's about it. The story this time takes place in a fictional version of Kyoto, with the Kyo in Kyoto using a different kanji from the one used in the real Kyoto, just like they did with Tokyo Xanadu. Of course, you may still recognize some famous sites from the actual Kyoto used in the game. You take the role of Rei Kamiya, who in the beginning gets sucked into a portal to the alternate world known sometimes as Xanadu, and finds out that he is one of the rare individuals who is able to fight in this world by summoning his weapon known as a soul device. And thus he ends up being transferred to a special high school specifically for teenagers with similar abilities. Transfer students are rare here at Hirakawa Academy, with most of the students having known that they were destined to fight in the parallel world since childhood, many of them coming from well-known families of such individuals. So our protagonist is a bit of a fish out of water at the school, like Harry Potter. The school was built on top of a giant Xanadu labyrinth, which for some reason has an extremely plot-convenient age limit. Adults can't enter for some reason, and so it is up to the very special students of the high school above to protect the outside world from its monsters, and also to explore the labyrinth and discover its secrets. Our protagonist, Rei, announces from the get-go that his goal is to explore the entire thing, which makes him the laughingstock of his new classmates. They have a much better idea of the true scope of the labyrinth and the fact that no one has come close to completely exploring it. From the very first action part of the game, I was surprised to find that the game plays from a standard third-person perspective, since I had heard that this one is a 2.5D side-scroller. And indeed it actually is, it's just the arena-style boss rooms like the one you start out in, which plays more similar to Tokyo Xanadu. Or really East 10 is what these parts feel most similar to. And so you explore the Xanadu labyrinth below the school from a side view, with fun, fluid action, where you can grab onto platforms from below. You could maybe call this game a Metroidvania. It even has new abilities you can learn which will allow you to reach new places in earlier parts of the game.
You know those jumps that are like double jumps, you know?
Unfortunately, the game's favorite obstacle is walls which can only be destroyed from the opposite side, which can get a little bit old and irritating. Sometimes the game changes things up with switches to open the passages from the other side instead, but the end result is the same. I can't tell you how many times I went back to parts where it looked like there were new passages to explore on the map, only to say, oh yeah, it's just another one of those walls where you can only get past from the other side. As mentioned already, there is very little if anything to tie this game to the early Xanadu series, but I'd like to think that these Egyptian statues in the background here are a reference to the boss rooms in the original Xanadu.
Bye-bye, statue.
Yeah, bye-bye, statue.
Bye-bye.
One fun touch is all the Falcom stickers that appear in the messaging app used by the characters in the game. I believe most or all of these are real stamps you can actually buy online, the messaging app that everyone uses in Japan. I really wish they had also thrown in a reference or two to Falcom's old PC-98 games here in this used PC shop, What a wasted opportunity. At least Tokyo Xanadu had the title screen from the original Xanadu, but just as in Tokyo Xanadu, one of the characters at the school in Kyoto Xanadu is a character simply lifted straight from the universe of an unrelated Falcom game, though he plays a decidedly very minor role here. You get to also choose a name for your team in the game, and I just knew which one I had to choose. But oh yeah, that's right, Ray has to assemble a team. In the story, he will eventually recruit other students from the school, and then you can change to any of them on the fly while in the action parts. You have the familiar Falcom system where certain characters are strong against certain enemies, but I didn't really find it to be essential in this one. If you want, you can just brute force it with any character, which is why you'll see me playing as Ray in almost all of my footage. I'm most used to the way Ray plays, and it can be hard to evade and block on time if you're not used to a particular character's drawn-out attack animations. During these bosses, you'll probably be using the boost meter constantly as it fills up, and while it's active, the boss music will be replaced by Ray's favorite virtual idol, Lino. The song can get a little worn out by the end of the game, especially since otherwise the bosses are where you'll get to hear all the game's most rocking tunes. The slower tempo stuff in the rest of the game is also, of course, pretty decent, and is the usual modern Falcom fare, complete with the typical Falcom isms in the melodies. I wouldn't say anything really stands out, but there are at least a couple of interesting sounding, commonly used tracks in this one. My favorite part of the game is definitely the 2.5D action in the labyrinth, but unfortunately that's only half the game at most. Each day in the game's calendar begins with Ray in the classroom, where you use cards you've collected to improve Ray's academic ability that day. I'm usually not a fan of these sorts of character-raising simulations, but here it's kind of fun because you're making real improvements to your stats, which will help tremendously in the action parts of the game. You also get some freedom to choose which stats to improve using the skill tree. Then in the afternoons, you get a choice to use one of your action points to either continue exploring the labyrinth or spend time at various shops and locations around Kyoto to slightly improve your stats. And that's really all you can do at any of these locations other than maybe buying some equipment and costumes. Tokyo Xanadu at least had mini games you could play at the arcade. Meanwhile, the arcade here does nothing. Tokyo Xanadu even had a fishing minigame. That's one thing people always point out about my Tokyo Xanadu video from 9 years ago. I made that video before finishing the game and said that unlike other Falcom games from the time, there's no fishing game, when in actuality there is eventually at the arcade. But anyway, that's what AP is for in Kyoto Xanadu. If you like that, then you're really gonna love these FP, or friend points, I guess it stands for. They allow you to spend time with any of your party members or tons of other minor characters from the school. This will give you some quick text where the character usually just thanks Ray for the good time, and the real bonding events like those in other modern Falcom games don't come until you do this enough times to fill up that character's current pie chart. Now, how much you actually enjoy reading these unvoiced events unrelated to the main story will depend entirely on how much you're invested in this world and its minor characters. Me, I'd rather just spend my time down in that dungeon. There's a ranking system at the school to determine the top teams who have contributed the most to exploring it and defeating the bosses, and I can't understand why we're not just always down there exploring and trying to beat the other teams. Hey you kids, what are you doing spending time bowling and enjoying food around Kyoto? You get back down in that dungeon right now. I want the whole thing mapped out and all the bosses defeated by the end of the semester. There actually is more than one occasion in the story where concerned adults somehow manage to get word of this secret school where kids are forced to explore a dangerous dungeon, and they are not happy about it. One time it's even supposed to be a fictional children's rights NPO. We learn that the number of students who have gone missing in the dungeon in just the last 10 years is 214. 214? Hope you don't get too attached to your friends, kids. A lot of them are not going to make it to graduation. And in fact, one of the types of side quests you can do is rescuing other students who've become stranded and are unable to get out of the labyrinth. These are really short and kind of fun, but the other two types of side quests where you either have to kill a bunch of certain enemies or find certain resources in the rocks and grass feel a little like busy work. Though it's nothing compared to all the stuff it makes you do up in the outside world, or even certain uninteresting elements of the story it wants you to sit through. This game just wastes your time, that's the main issue. So why not just skip all the busy work and social game fluff in the outside world and just work on the dungeon? Well, the game utilizes two methods to make sure your dungeon sessions don't go on forever. First and most obvious, there are obstacles the game won't let you proceed past until you get to a certain point in the story. And secondly, you have a jar you fill up with ether by breaking objects. This allows you to buy yet more upgrades at the sacred tree in the Xanadu lobby at the school. The jar only has a capacity of 1000 though, and when it goes over, it randomly becomes poisonous, starts draining your HP, and prevents you from using your boost meter. I can survive like this for a surprisingly long time, but you're probably gonna wanna just fast travel back to the school when this happens. I often found myself deliberately trying not to break objects to prevent the ether jar from filling up in the first place, so I could just keep on exploring. But the bottom line is that no matter what, you can't just stay down in the dungeon. You've gotta play the boring high school life simulation part too, whether you like it or not. So what Kyoto Xanadu really is, to put it bluntly, is a fairly decent, albeit kinda short Metroidvania game, with an okay story and a drawn-out social simulation game tacked onto it to extend the playtime. And even when it's all done, there are still a ton of unanswered questions left either for a sequel, or even more likely, a slightly upgraded future re-release like they did with Tokyo Xanadu or Ys 10. If you're someone who enjoyed the social elements even in some of the most recent Trails games, then you might just love Kyoto Xanadu. Personally, I got more into the social elements back when Falcom first started doing it in the early Trails of Cold Steel games. Hey, don't judge, I had an unforgettable pretend high school life at that pretend school. Tokyo Xanadu also wasn't bad in the second half once I got to know the characters. But doing the same thing again here in 2026 just feels stale to me at this point. I just can't get myself as invested in this new school and its students. I really do hope there will be others who fall in love with this game, and I hope they watch this video and wonder why this idiot on YouTube is complaining so much. But for more casual fans of modern Falcom games, who have maybe just played some of the new Ys games or a few others, you can probably skip Kyoto Xanadu, I think. I'm sure there are better new Metroidvania games you could spend your time with, many made by indie developers. This one is mostly for hardcore fans of modern Falcom games, who enjoy the world and characters so much they would like to just stay there for a while, even when nothing important is happening. That's all I have to say about this one. As usual, here's the list of the cool people who allow me to keep working. And I'll be back with another game on PC-88 or PC-98 Paradise soon.